Picture a cinematic, incredibly high-definition scene in your mind. You're looking at a silent, vast spiritual laboratory. Right in the center, infinite light is gradually building a receiver. It's meticulously adding layer after layer, energy stepping down, until a final, perfectly engineered desire awakens. Okay, my co-host and I are beyond excited to bring you this explainer today, because we are diving into the absolute, profound spiritual mechanics of exactly how a true receiver is engineered from infinite light. We're unpacking the cosmic architecture of desire strictly as detailed in Talmud Eser Sefirot, Part 2. If you've ever wondered how the spiritual operating system of consciousness was actually built, this is the deep dive you've been waiting for.
We are going to trace the exact structural blueprint of consciousness, layer by beautiful layer. We'll start with the fundamental paradox of creation and then walk step by step from the initial raw data flow right up to the final completed true vessel.
To truly understand how we are built, we first have to wrap our heads around the fundamental paradox of the root, or what the Kabbalistic texts call Keter.
At the very beginning of everything, there is only the light, the or, and the absolute unchanging nature of this light is an infinite desire to bestow. It just wants to give entirely. But here is the massive paradox we always talk about. You literally cannot give without a vessel, a kli. And what is a kli? By definition, it's an independent entity whose sole defining form is the desire to receive. They are total polar opposites. The light is the ultimate giver, the vessel is the ultimate receiver. This completely new form, the desire to receive, is the only actual new creation. It's the Yesh MiAyin, the something from nothing. Everything else is just an extension of the light.
Think of Keter, the root, as the ultimate infinite source code sitting in the cosmic cloud. It contains only the desire to bestow. There's absolutely no receiver present yet. So here's our architectural problem. A true, independent vessel cannot just be spawned instantly, because its nature, receiving, is entirely opposite to the infinite light. It has to be built through a precise four-stage architectural process. The four phases known as the Dalet Bechinot. The energy has to be stepped down, layer by layer, to bridge that infinite gap.
Section 2. Let's move to Stage 1 and see how this actually builds, starting with the very first stage of this cosmic engineering. The source code activates. The light pushes forward in an initial expansion, what the texts call hitpashtut. This creates the first stage, Chochmah. Chochmah acts as the raw initial receiver that is utterly filled with the direct flow of light. If we use a video game analogy for a second, this is level 1. The avatar spawns into the game, completely saturated with energy from the server. It's pure, unadulterated data flow.
But we have to ask, is this a true vessel? To answer that, Rabbi Ashlag introduces two absolutely brilliant Talmudic variables required for true conscious reception. First, there's efshar, the absolute ability to choose, or the freedom to simply walk away and opt out. Second, there's kamshavin, an active yearning, a real conscious intention and appetite to receive. To be a true receiver, you absolutely must have both.
So let's look at Stage 1, Chochmah, through this incredibly strict lens. Because Chochmah is born completely full of light by default, it never actually asked for it. Therefore, it completely lacks choice. It has no efshar. And because it was never empty to begin with, it has no yearning, no kamshavin. It's just a raw data drive constantly receiving a massive flow. It has zero independence. Therefore, it is not a true conscious vessel. It's just the first building block.
Section 3. Realizing it is merely a passive receiver, the system naturally triggers a massive evolution into Stage 2, Binah.
In Stage 2, Binah, the receiver essentially wakes up. It looks at the light and realizes, wait a minute, I want to be like the root. I want to give. So Binah throws up a cosmic firewall. It actively blocks the incoming data flow, rejecting the light to emulate the source. This departure of light is called histalkut. For the adults in the room, thinking in terms of cosmic engineering, the receiver module is actively modifying its own permissions to stop the download. Now look at how the matrix drastically changes here. By putting up that firewall, Binah actually gains a level of independence. It proves it has efshar, the explicit choice to reject the light. But by doing so, it completely loses the desire to receive. It doesn't want the light anymore. It wants to be a bestower. So it has no kamshavin. And since a vessel is defined as the desire to receive, Binah's lack of appetite means it cannot be our true vessel either.
Section 4. The system cannot survive on pure rejection, which brings us to Stage 3, Zeir Anpin. Binah's total rejection just isn't sustainable. If it blocks all the light, it literally ceases to exist. So, the architecture evolves into stage 3, Zeir Anpin, also referred to as Tiferet. This stage is forced to open up a small port in its firewall. It requests just enough essential bandwidth, a minimal, partial illumination of light, called Or Kasadim, with a tiny bit of Chochmah, simply to stay alive and keep the operating system running. It's the essential energy pipeline.
Let's test Zeir Anpin against our two rules. Because it was completely empty during Binah's firewall phase, when it finally draws the light down, it actually feels a lack. It has kamchavin, active, genuine yearning. But, and here is the catch that always gets people, because it's requesting this light out of desperate survival, there is no real choice involved. It must take it to live. Therefore, it has no efshar. It's a dependency, not a free choice. So we are incredibly close, but still not at our final true vessel.
Section 5. This brings us to the absolute climax of our spiritual architecture, the final, ultimate upgrade, Malchut. Malchut, or Bechina Dalet, is the absolute masterpiece of this entire process. Think about it. Zeir Anpin already secured the essential bandwidth just to survive. Malchut doesn't actually need more light for survival. Instead, it generates a massive, completely independent appetite for the infinite light, the full hitpashut, simply because it wants to. It consciously chooses to want everything. In our video game version, this is level 4, where the real desire and conscious choice finally unlock. If we look at our final matrix here, it all comes together beautifully. Only stage 4, Malchut, achieves a perfect score. Because it already had enough to survive, its desire is a pure, uncoerced choice. Yes, efshar. And because it generates a massive, active appetite for the infinite light, it has yes kamchavin. True reception, a completely independent Kali, is finally, truly born.
This quote from the text is just staggering, and my co-host and I were completely blown away when we first really unpacked it. As Rabbi Ashlag explicitly states, the first 3 stages, Chochmah, Binah, and Zeir Anpin, aren't actually vessels at all. They are just the outer scaffolding, the cosmic hardware and pipeline, designed solely as a cause and effect chain to house this final perfect consciousness of Malchut. He compares them to the actual thickness of the cup itself. Malchut is the hollow space inside that actually holds the water.
Section 6. Let's step back and look at the magnificent final operating system we've built.
Here is our completed architecture. Now, a very vital warning from the texts. Do not imagine these stages as physical time or Malchut as some sort of bodily appetite. In the spiritual realm, there is no time. These are layers of anatomy building upon one another simultaneously. Keter is the root. Chochmah provides the data. Binah provides the boundary and choice. Zeir Anpin provides the essential life force. And Malchut synthesizes all of it into a fully conscious, independent entity. Also, just as a quick note for the advanced students, things like the Zimtzum Aleph, the Masach, and the Zivug Dahaka all happen after this stage is complete, so they aren't explicitly part of this specific building phase, but this is the very groundwork that makes those future dynamics possible.
So, what should we really take away from this profound text? The ultimate takeaway is that true spiritual reception, true connection, cannot ever be forced. A system that just passively takes what it's given without choice isn't alive in a spiritual sense. To be a true receiver, you require both the absolute freedom to walk away and the intense, conscious choice to connect anyway. That is the genius of the Creator's design.
Look at your own life through this lens for a second. Are you living in stage 1, just passively taking in the data of life by default? Or are you operating in stage 4, consciously and independently choosing to draw down the light into your life? Thank you for joining us for this complete journey through the Part S. We hope these ancient truths help you and your family improve your own dimensions this week. If you enjoyed this full chapter deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share which part of the journey touched your soul in the comments. We'll see you in the next chapter.